Money has a way of reaching deeper than numbers. It can touch fear, safety, worth, pressure, hope. And the quiet question many people carry, will I be okay? Neville Goddard taught that the outer world reflects the state we live from within. But what does that mean when the subject is money? Does it mean pretending bills do not exist? Does it mean ignoring responsibility? Does it mean forcing yourself to feel wealthy when your life does not look that way? No. Neville's teaching points to something deeper. Before money changes on the outside, many people must first notice the state they keep returning to on the inside. The feeling of always being behind, the assumption that money is hard to keep, the belief that life is always one emergency away from falling apart. In this lesson, we'll follow Michael's story, a man learning that wealth is not only an amount, it is also an inner state. Welcome to Neville Explained. Today we're exploring Neville Goddard on money, the inner state of wealth. Money is often treated like a purely practical subject. Income, bills, savings, debt, expenses. And of course, those things matter. Neville was not teaching people to ignore practical life. But money also has an inner side. It can reveal what a person believes about safety. It can reveal what they believe they are allowed to receive. It can reveal whether they live from trust or pressure, possibility or limitation, calm responsibility or constant fear. For many people, money is not only something they manage, it is something they react to. A bill arrives and the body tightens. A bank account opens and the mind begins searching for danger. A delay happens and the old story returns. There is never enough. Something always goes wrong. I can never get ahead. This is why money can become such a powerful mirror. Not because money itself has power over the soul, but because our relationship with money often exposes the state we have been practicing. And before that state can change, it first has to be seen. Michael was not careless with money. He worked hard, he paid attention, he tried to plan. He checked his accounts, reviewed his bills, and told himself he just needed to stay disciplined. But no matter how responsible he tried to be, he always felt behind. One bill would be paid and another would arrive. One problem would settle and another expense would appear. Even when things were quiet, his mind searched for what might go wrong next. Money had become more than something Michael managed. It had become an atmosphere, a feeling, a state. He woke up with it. He carried it through the day, and he brought it home at night. The numbers mattered, but the numbers were not the whole story. Beneath the numbers was an assumption. There is never enough. I can never relax. Something is always about to happen. And without realizing it, Michael began to see life through that state. This is where Neville's teaching becomes practical. Because before Michael could experience wealth differently, he first had to notice the feeling he kept calling normal. Neville Goddard did not teach that money should be worshipped, and he did not teach that people should ignore ordinary responsibility. Bills still matter, work still matters, decisions still matter. But Neville asked people to look deeper than the outer condition. He taught that consciousness is the starting point, that the state a person occupies within themselves begins to shape what they expect, what they notice, what they accept, and how they move. This matters with money because money often carries emotion, fear, pressure, worth, security, permission. For Michael, money had become connected to the feeling of survival. Even when he was doing his best, he still felt as if life was against him. And from that state, every bill felt like evidence. Every delay felt like confirmation. Every unexpected expense felt like proof that he could never get ahead. Neville's teaching invited Michael to ask a different question. Not simply, how much money do I have, but who am I being in relation to money? Am I living from fear? Am I living from pressure? Am I living from the assumption that there is never enough? Or can I begin to enter the state of someone who is steady, responsible, provided for, and open to increase? This is not pretending. This is not denial. This is changing the inner place from which he meets the subject of money. The inner state of wealth is not arrogance. It is not pretending to be better than anyone. And it is not ignoring financial reality. The inner state of wealth is steadiness. It is the feeling of being provided for, the feeling that life is not always against you, the feeling that increase is possible, the feeling that you can meet money with clarity instead of fear. For Michael, this did not mean he suddenly stopped paying attention to his bills. It meant he stopped treating every bill as proof that he was failing. It meant he stopped seeing every delay as evidence that nothing ever worked out. It meant he began practicing a different relationship with money, a calmer one, a wiser one, a more trusting one. Instead of asking from panic, how am I going to survive this? He began asking from a different state, what is the next wise step? What can I handle today? What am I being invited to learn? What would I do if I believed I was supported, capable, and allowed to increase? This is where the inner state of wealth begins, not in fantasy, not in denial, but in the quiet decision to stop meeting money from fear and begin meeting it from faith, responsibility, and possibility. So how does someone practice the inner state of wealth? Not by pretending money problems do not exist, not by ignoring bills, not by avoiding responsibility. The practice begins with awareness. Before reacting, pause. Before opening the bank account, pause. Before assuming the worst, pause. Ask yourself, what state am I about to enter? Am I opening this bill from fear? Am I checking this account from panic? Am I making this decision from pressure? For Michael, this pause became important. Instead of immediately tightening inside, he began to breathe. He looked at the numbers honestly. But he stopped letting the numbers tell him who he was. He began to say inwardly, I can meet this with clarity. I can take the next wise step. I am not powerless. I am learning to live from steadiness. Then he would do something practical. Review the bill, make a plan, write down the next step, send the email, make the call, adjust the budget. But he did it from a different inner place. Not from panic, not from shame, not from the assumption that life was against him, but from the state of someone who was responsible, supported, and capable of increase. Now pause for a moment and ask yourself honestly, what state do I enter when I think about money? Do I enter fear, pressure, shame, comparison? Do I immediately feel behind? Do I assume there will not be enough? Do I expect something to go wrong? Or is there another state I can begin to practice? A state of steadiness, a state of wisdom, a state of responsibility, a state of being provided for, a state that says, I can face what is in front of me without letting it define who I am. This does not mean every financial problem disappears overnight. It means you stop giving fear the authority to name your future. It means you can look at the numbers without becoming the numbers. You can make a plan without becoming panic. You can take action without living from shame. Neville's teaching asks us to become aware of the inner position we are occupying. Because the question is not only, what do I have? The deeper question is, who am I being? And when it comes to money, that question can change everything. Money is not only something we count, it is something we often feel. For Michael, the numbers mattered. The bills mattered. The responsibilities mattered. But beneath all of it was the state he kept living from: fear, pressure, survival. The belief that life was always one emergency away from falling apart. Neville's teaching did not ask Michael to ignore reality. It asked him to stop letting fear become his reality. It invited him to meet money from a different inner place. A place of steadiness, a place of responsibility, a place of trust, a place that says, I can face what is here. I can take the next wise step. I am allowed to receive. I am allowed to increase. I am not limited to the story I have repeated in the past. This is the inner state of wealth. Not a performance, not arrogance, not pretending, but the quiet decision to stop identifying with lack and begin living from possibility. So today, ask yourself gently, what state am I practicing when I think about money? Am I practicing fear, or am I practicing steadiness? Am I rehearsing lack, or am I opening myself to wisdom, responsibility, and increase? The outer work still matters, the plan still matters, the action still matters, but the inner state matters too, because the state you return to becomes the place you live from, and the place you live from shapes the way you meet life. Thank you for spending this time with me. Until next lesson, stay curious, reflect deeply, and take good care of your mind.